Hey guys, so for today's post, we're going to take a look at one of my favorite pumping applications. It's one that at Triplex we're fortunate to have a lot of experience with. We have a lot of manufacturers in this area who are making chocolate, candy, different sort of confections. And with pumping chocolate or any sort of two-phase media, there are some special considerations about how we want to set the pumps up to achieve the best possible outcome or result. So in this post, we're going to talk specifically about chocolate, but we see these things happen with all sorts of other two-phase media where we have solid and liquid phases, some friendly and non-friendly pump products. So while this presentation talks a lot about chocolate, if you have any sort of two-phase media, these recommendations are also going to apply. So let's get into it and see what we do to set up a Waukesha Universal 1, 2, or 3 sanitary PD pump for a two-phase media application, specifically chocolate. And by the way, I did pick the Gene Wilder version of Willy Wonka because it is my favorite, and I think that is it's an all-time great movie. And if you guys haven't seen it, I'd encourage you to check it out. So as we get into it here, what makes chocolate such a difficult product to pump? Why do we have to have these special considerations? Well, chocolate is a two-phase media a lot of times. There's cocoa butter in the product, which is pump friendly, and then there's also cocoa powder, which is not as pump friendly. We also have milk powder particles, sugar crystals, other things that can create some challenges. And the way that this manifests itself, the physical manifestation of it is something called pucking, and you can see that going on here right in the rotor hub. Okay. So in a Waukesha PD pump, on the Universal 1 and Universal 2, our rotor hubs extend forward into the cover, so there's a cavity. In the Universal 1 specifically, that cover is a stepped cover. It is not machined smooth or beveled, so it's really hard to get cleaning fluid into the cover at a velocity high enough to clean it out, right? With the Universal 3, we actually don't see that. So one of the ways that we can avoid this pucking, just skipping a couple steps ahead, is to use the Universal 3 because we actually, in a U3, we turn that rotor around for our product seals, and the hubs of the cover actually extend into the rotor, not vice versa. But what you see here, we see this a lot on U1s. We also see it on U2s and chocolate applications. It's pucking. It's the product accumulation right here. Okay. This is the separation of phases. So we get solids and we just get solid left, right? We get the liquids that pass through, the solids build up, and that can lock up the pump. So it's not uncommon to get a call and the customer says, our pump's not turning. We not only see this on chocolate, we also see this on it's a product called Flock. If you look at like a car window and the liner on that, there's all those little black particles that they use to line it to prevent your window from getting scratched when it goes up and down. That has to be made too. We pump it with a Waukesha pump, and we have this. We've seen this occur in that as well. So again, these are really good. This is not uncommon to see in two-phase media applications. So what do we do? How do we prevent it? The first thing we're going to recommend are extra hot clearance rotors, especially for chocolate. The extra hot clearance rotors is actually known as a hot chocolate clearance rotor. What this does is it promotes additional circulation of product and prevents that solids buildup. Okay, because our viscosity on chocolate is so high, typically it doesn't mean we have more slip. Now, in some applications where like that Flock product where we have these particles suspended in liquid, we can't actually use the extra hot clearance because we just have way too much slip. So what we use then are these CIP flats in the rotors so that we can get flow through that cover and get everything cleaned out. When we size the pumps, we're generally going to try to run them a little bit slower. This lowers our shear rate and creates less separation and ultimately a lower buildup of solids. Difficult applications like things like white chocolate especially, we may want to even run slower than that, okay? The other issue we tend to see with chocolate applications are seal issues. And there are a couple of special considerations that we're going to have for our seals as well. For chocolate as a standard, we're going to recommend a universal 1 or a universal 3 because we have the O-ring seal options, most commonly a double O-ring seal. And what we'll do is we'll have that body drilled for a flush, and we'll put in grease zerks on the flush ports. And instead of adding a flush media, we'll just pack it with cocoa butter, right? There are some auto applicators now that we can use that will manually do that. Otherwise, we'll just have people running through the plant, greasing the pumps to make sure our seal life works. WCP has found this to be the most successful across all their chocolate applications. We can also use a U-cup seal, which has like a leading edge. That has worked. The grease, but what we really want is that lubricating fluid. It does two things for us. It pushes suspended solids out of the flush area and back into the product, allowing the outer O-ring to run on a clean, lubricated product, okay? That's our flush media. So what do we do if we're using a Universal 2? We have a lot of chocolate manufacturers who want to run Universal 2 because of the long run times. Maybe they would have some additional cleaning requirements. And if we're using a mechanical seal, then what we'll try to use, and this has been really successful in a number of chocolate applications, is a narrow face seal where we have a reduced surface area that kind of cuts through that product that tends to plate up. We can also use a high pressure barrier seal with a similar setup on the grease zerks on the flush ports, where we're going to use a product compatible with the chocolate as our lubricating fluid. It's important to remember that the chocolate guys hate water, so we can't use water as our standard flush media. That's why we're looking at things like cocoa butter, propylene glycol, things like that to lubricate our seals in these applications. So that's what we have for two-phase media applications, specifically chocolate applications. You're going to want to go to a hot clearance or an extra hot clearance rotor. Consider those flats on the rotor. Maybe we'll try to get some pictures of those to show you in another post so you can get more flow through that cover. Try to size the pumps down, run them a little bit slower. Use a flushed seal with a product-compatible lubricating fluid. And if you have any questions about your chocolate pumping or two-phase media application, don't hesitate to reach out to us at Triplex Sales. We'd be happy to help you out any way we can. Thanks a lot, guys. We hope you enjoy your weekend.